Hello everyone, today I'll teach you how to use Composure with Unreal Engine 5.7. Composure has had a tremendous overhaul and a very welcoming one, so if you're a virtual production enthusiast and had always had to resort to third-party tools, especially for Chroma Keying, you may now finally be able to do your entire workflow inside Unreal Engine, maybe. So let's start with the plugins you need for this setup. You need Composure, Media I/O Framework, and Framework Utilities, as well as a Time Data Monitor. So I have my scene here. As you can see, it's a beautiful house, and now we need to turn on the plugins we'll use for today's tutorial. So for plugins, you're gonna search, if you're using Blackmagic Card, you're gonna search for Blackmagic. Okay, it's right here. If it's not turned on, you enable it. Also, we're going to use NDI because we also have an NDI workflow today. So you type NDI and you will see the NDI plugin here. Next, we're going to use Framework Utilities. Okay, it's Media Framework Utilities. You turn this on, and also Media Framework I/O Framework. We need both of these plugins, but today we also will use for this tutorial Time Data Monitor. Where's time? Here. I'll explain why later, but we're going to use this for this tutorial. Time Data Monitor. So with all these plugins enabled, go ahead and restart your engine, and let's go to the next step. I think this is a holy grail in Unreal Engine 5.7. Instead of having to create media bundles, import videos, choose textures, all that time-consuming workflow just to bring live footage or external footage into the engine, now we have a hub for all of that. So this part of the video is going to be a little long, but definitely worth watching. But in case TikTok has ruined your attention span, you can go ahead and skip to part 3 of this video where it's all about Composure. So how do you create a media profile? Right click to click on open the content browser, right click in an empty space here, go to media profile, call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it Elizabeth because why not? So I got Elizabeth here. Remember to save every step of the way. Open Elizabeth, and if it's not docked here, you just go ahead and dock it. So here to the right you have nothing is enabled. To the right here on the media tab, we have media sources and media outputs. Let's configure the media sources first. You click add media source. Nothing happens yet, but you have a new thing here going on. So what you do now is click the drop down menu, and you have a bunch of selections here that you didn't have before. So you have Asia or Blackmagic cards. If you're using a Blackmagic card, you use this one. If you're using Asia card, use this one. You also have file media source, which is a video from your computer. You don't have to import the video into Unreal Engine anymore. You can just use a video that's inside your computer. And also you have, if you have a PNG sequence, you can use this one, and also NDI, which is great. NDI has been supported for a while, but now it's being made much easier. The other ones we're not going to talk about today. First, for today's demonstration, I will use my live input, which is a Blackmagic media source. I'll click it, and here you have configuration. You have a bunch of information here. You want to go to configuration, and if it's not being recognized, you need to go and disable automatic. Choose your resolution and frame rate. If you cannot see it in the screen, mine is 4K, 24 frames per second, and click apply. So now you can see Elizabeth here. All right, so what else do you configure here? If your camera is 10-bit, you choose 10-bit. If your camera is 8-bit, you leave it at 8-bit, okay? Nothing else here has to be tweaked, okay? Maybe if you want to use OCIO, you can, but for today's tutorial's purposes, I'm not gonna touch anything. I have my camera here, and now you just have to click save it. But let's say you want to use a video from your computer. If you want to use a video from your computer and not a camera, let me go ahead and delete this here. Click on media source, add a media source again, and now I want to go to file media source. What that means is that it's going to load a video from your computer. But remember, the video, if you're using a video for longer projects, it has to be remain the same directory, okay? Because before you could just load the video into Unreal Engine. Now the Unreal Engine will just reference the video from your computer. So if you move that video while your project is not finished, the connections will break. So file media source and go to the file path. I'm just gonna choose this video here. All right, so I have my video here that is not live, it's just a pre-recorded video. You can use it too now in Unreal Engine. What do you change here? You change basically nothing. You just save it and continue. All right, so this is the second way you can do it, but what if you want to use NDI, because this is a very important workflow now. It's enabling a lot of the possibilities if you don't have a graphics card. So if you want to use NDI, let's see, you click on a media source, click add media source, and here you will choose NDI media source. So as soon as I click this, you can see right now that my phone has the NDI app open, and as soon as I have to enable NDI, as soon as you select the NDI here, you apply it, and now it's been displayed. You can do a lot of things now without a graphics card. As long as your internet is stable, you can pretty much do a lot of testing, a lot of learning just with this workflow. And the quality of the video input is really, really good here. You still have a bunch of options that you also had with the live input, but for these tutorial purposes, I'm going to use my live input, which is going to continue to be Elizabeth through the Blackmagic camera. I'm just going to disable this 4K 24 frames per second. So with my Blackmagic camera selected, I'm going to save it, leave it open, or you can close it, doesn't matter. Bringing external footage into Unreal Engine has never been easier now with the media profile, and an NDI, don't even get me started with that. Anyone who wants to learn virtual production can do it now. So now what we have going on here is that we need to apply the Composure setup to this. So how do you get to Composure? You go to Window, Virtual Production, Composure. You have a Composure tab here. So here right now in the Composure tab, you have an empty composite, okay? You need to place a composite actor here, okay? Which means it's basically a comp. So let me open it a little more. So what do you have here? You have the composite actor, okay, which is basically your comp. Within that, you have the main render layer, which is a CG layer, which is your background. If I turn this off, you don't have any CG world. Here, shadow reflection layer, I'm not going to turn it on, but this is basically when you want to bring, when you want to do augmented reality, bringing a 3D asset into your real world, which is not today's tutorial. Today we're going to bring the live person into the CG world. And a plate layer. Composite actor is your comp. This main render layer is your CG background, your world, and a plate layer is your live video. We have nothing configured yet, so let's configure first the composite actor, which is it basically doesn't have a lot of settings, but you need to point a camera to it. So do I have a camera? Let's go back to my outliner and type camera. I have a camera actor here. Oh, conveniently placed camera actor right here. So I placed it beforehand so I could save some time. So with the camera selected, go back to Composure, composite actor, which is your comp, and select your camera. It needs a camera. If you want to override the resolution, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want here. You also have a few more settings that usually you don't need to touch. And here in the camera, it's best to match your real world camera with your CG camera here, especially for the film back settings like the sensor width, the sensor height, and also your focal length. All these things that you should have, you just try to mimic what your real camera is sending, okay? But for now, this is all you need to touch. You have your camera placed here. You have a little table where I'm going to put Elizabeth on. and this is all for composite actor. Going to the main render layer, you don't have to touch anything here. Now let's talk about where all the magic happens, the plate layer. Now pay attention, this is very important. This is where all the magic happens, okay? So what do you have here? Let's take a look at this little window here. Is your basic layer settings. So you have your media profile, okay? So what you have to do is open this, and you will see that I have a media profile called Elizabeth, and inside that profile there is a media texture. You didn't create one, it was created for you when you made that profile, and mine is coming through Blackmagic media source. If yours is coming from a video or from PNG sequence, or it could also be an NDI source, it will just show here, but this is inside the media profile. That's why I said media profile is the blessing that solves a lot of problems. So you click here, nothing happens yet. Why does nothing happen yet? It's because you need to project the camera onto that texture, and to do that you need a mesh. What mesh do you need? If you see here down below, composite mesh content, you need to project something onto it. You're going to choose place composite mesh actor. What that does is place a huge projection for your camera. Obviously this is too long. Let me go back to the outliner and let me just pin the camera here. Okay, but back into the world, you can see that this is too big. What you need to do is obviously reduce the size. Okay, you need to just make it so it's right there. Reduce the size of this. Just place it, okay, basically here, but still too big. Just make sure it just covers the whole camera. If you're moving around, you're going to place it a little bigger so it covers the whole camera. But if you're not moving around so much, you can just make it like so, like this. Do not cut off this part of the camera, otherwise her base there will just be cut off. So make sure it just fills the entire camera. Back to Composure. Now you can see composite mesh content. You can see that you have two things. You have one thing, which is the created composite mesh actor, which is what your camera is projecting into. Okay, so if you were to pilot this camera, all you would see is this. Let me go back. Scared me for a moment there. Let me pin this here so you can always see what's happening. So you can see my camera is projecting Elizabeth, and Elizabeth is on this table right here. So let's work with this. How do we work with this? What you need, first thing you need to do is to add Chroma Keying. Okay, so how do you add Chroma Keying? That's there's something called passes here. Now let's talk about passes. This is where you can tweak Chroma Keying, color grading, OCIO, anti-aliasing, etc. With the media texture selected, now there's more settings here, but in order to visualize those settings, we need to fix this flat colors here. Otherwise, it'll be really hard to key. So that's when you can do color grading. Going down to passes here, this is where you do a lot of the magic. If you click on this plus sign here, you have all these options. Today we're going to cover color grade pass and color keyer pass. We need to do color keying to remove the grain. However, because the picture is flat, so let's do a color grade pass first so that we can help the keyer later. Before that, I'm gonna go back to here to my outliner and just plug in my camera here. All right, so plus sign, color grade pass. And now under color grade, you have a bunch of options. Okay, let me pilot my camera so I can see what I'm doing. Let's turn this flat picture into a colorful and vibrant picture so that we can key it later. So usually I work with the global. I don't touch the other ones, especially the gamma. If you open the gamma and you just fiddle with it, okay, you can bring a lot of lively colors into the pictures. And I think I wouldn't want to change anything else because it's just for tutorial. So with this fix, maybe you can go to contrast a little bit. Okay, do a little bit of contrast, And with this fixed, I'm not gonna touch anything else under color grading. So now what I want to do is add a color key pass, which try to do a good job. Let me go outside of piloted camera. Let me pin my camera here. What happened to me? Okay, I'm back. So you can see that Unreal tried to do a good keying, but he could not. So you can tweak it a little more. Remember, under pass, you have color grade and color keyer. We're using the color keyer. First thing you need to do is disable this, because you need to choose your green screen color. If you enable it back, it kind of like did a little better job. Let me try it here. Let me try by piloting the camera. Disable, pick your green screen color. Okay, enabled. Let's see what happened if you move out of. Okay, basically the same thing. Okay, so let's see, let's work with that. So you have the color keyer pass here. The first thing you need to do is go to visualization and choose alpha. Alpha is where you see how your keying is being done. Okay, when you choose alpha, your picture will turn black and white, which is just the correct thing, the way to do it. If you go to alpha threshold here, you have this slider and this slider. This slider controls the black part of your image. You need to turn it so everything that is supposed to be keyed out is black. To the right is the fill, which is your subject. You need to tweak it so there are no transparent areas here. Okay, transparent areas means it will be transparent. So now you have this, which is Elizabeth being keyed and the background being removed. Because we're in alpha, you cannot see the final result. You need to go back to key, and boom, you see the keyed out version of Elizabeth. All right, so now you can see that Elizabeth is here on the table in the scene. Okay, if you think, well, I think it's still a little flat, you can go back to the color grade pass and maybe add a little more contrast or gamma, let's see. But if you do that, okay, it will also affect the key, and you might have to key it again, but just for tutorial purposes, see, okay, it's much better now. Contrast wise, maybe tweak the shadows a little bit, tweak the gamma a little bit more. Okay, make it a little more interesting. Okay, so you have Elizabeth here. So now going back to the composite mesh actor, which is a projection you made here. Let unpilot this camera. Okay, the projection you have here. Okay, so right now this is the flat plane that it was keyed out. If you right click on this, and you have two choices here: apply lit masked material to selected actors, and apply unlit alpha material to selected actors. If you want, let me go to piloted camera here. That's better to illustrate. So you can see under Elizabeth here, you have a little bit of shadow, right? Because I'm using the apply lit masked material. Okay, if I apply the unlit masked material, the shadows are gone. The keying quality gets a little better, and the quality gets better overall, but you don't have any reflections and you don't have any shadows. For example, if I want to illustrate to you a little bit better, let me go and parent this big plate here to my camera. I'll parent to my camera, so wherever my camera moves, I will be able to see it. So what I'm doing is, it's here. If you can see, this is a swimming pool, and she doesn't have any reflections on the swimming pool because I'm using the unlit alpha material. If I change it to lit material, you see she has a little bit of reflection here. Can you see? You cannot see it very well, but you can see her reflection in the water. That is great if you're over like translucent or reflective materials. So if you change it back to unlit alpha material, it will lose those reflections. Okay, yes, you can even be inside the water. So that is what it means. So which one should you use? I would say always use the lit masked material. Now onto output. The media profile has made it easier than ever to output your footage. You can record directly onto the disk of your computer or send an NDI signal to another computer where you can record and reduce the load on your main computer. But before we do that, let's talk about time data monitor. Time data monitor. So what is time data monitor? Why did I even talk about it? So let me save my project really quickly here. All right, so time data monitor, virtual production. I use a time data monitor to measure my frame rate, okay? Maybe my camera is coming in at a different frame rate than the UE is rendering here. So you have, I'm not using time code here, okay? I'm not using it. And I'm not using Genlock. My camera is not sending Genlock signal. So maybe because Elizabeth is static, if you were to move her, it could cause some frame overlapping problems. Because she's not being moved right now, you don't see anything. But what I would say is, if my camera is sending 24 and my Unreal Engine is operating at 30, this could create some mismatch. In which case, I could go to project settings here and try to lock the frame rate. Okay, so fixed frame rate, I'm gonna put it at 24 because that's what my camera is sending. So yes, so you can see as soon as I change to 24, it displays on time data monitor. So time data monitor is just basically a way to manage your frames. Let's if you take a look at this FPS here, you can see that it's running at 22, 23 is synchronized. 24 basically is locked at 24, and you could add a time coder if you wanted. You could add all sorts of things. So time data monitor helps you control what's being sent. You don't want this to go over the red, or otherwise it just creates stuttering and it will be unstable. So you want to keep it in the green side. If it goes above orange or red, maybe it's time to reduce the quality of your scene or stuff like that. So time data monitor is done here. So now let's talk about the big boy, which is output. How do we do output? So it's pretty simple. So output basically we'll go back to the media profile, which is Elizabeth here, and you have media sources, which is my Blackmagic card, Blackmagic scene, and you have outputs. Now it's black because you need to add an output. So how do you add an output? You will go down here. There's a bunch of things you can add. Let us try save to file. So you can choose to save this to file. What does that mean? If you choose to save it to file, that will just create a file in your computer. Maybe you just want to save it onto your computer. So you can, as soon as you create this, you will see a file media output. You want to output your current viewport. If you want to do that, you can also have a media viewport and render target, and you also have a bunch of other column conversion settings and other stuff here that you can choose. And also the most important one is a file path. Okay, you want to choose maybe you want to choose a desktop, or you want to choose another place, specific folder. So you want to choose the path here and the file base name. Down here you don't have is a size and also the desired pixel format and alpha, and also you have output settings. Okay, number of texture buffers. This will control how big your file sizes are. But basically, if you want to output it to your disk on your computer, you would choose a file media output. But maybe you want to output to another monitor which is connected to your Blackmagic capture card. That's when you would choose it here. Okay, no matter what you choose, you would need to hit this start capture. This will just start sending the correct parameters to the desired output. But today we're doing NDI. So how does NDI work? Now I'm going to show you how NDI works. So in order to do that, let's say I'm going to output this to a different computer. So I'm going to output to my different computer. I'm going to show you my setup right now. So as you can see right there, my computer has the application NDI monitor selected. And here in Unreal Engine, as soon as I hit start capture, you can see that my Unreal Engine viewport is being sent to my other computer, which is connected to my is not connected to my main computer at all through any cable. It's all over the internet. So this could be a good setup if you want to do this for live streaming, for example, or reduce the load on your main PC. So you can see that the capture is perfect, and it's the latency. There's a little bit of latency, but it's not that great. It's pretty doable and pretty amazing. You can also output this to OBS if you want. And that's it. I believe Composure will get even better as new Unreal Engine versions come online. It's easier than ever for any enthusiast to explore virtual production with little to no budget. So go make your video, post it online, and tag me so I can see all the awesome stuff you've been doing with the new Composure. See you in the next one. Say bye.